Good afternoon and welcome to the 9th episode of the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. We are almost at that double-digit number.
Almost there.
First off, I'm going to apologize for my appearance today. As Kylan knows, and I think some of you know, I am a high school varsity dance coach, and tomorrow we have our first competition. And of course, because when everything's going well, something just tends to happen. A girl on my team got injured and can't perform. So the last 2 days have been me frantically trying to teach another girl, one of our alternates, the routines that we can still perform at our first competition. Been running around like a crazy person for 48 hours. So I think we're all good and we're all set. And then I had to take my dog to the vet this morning. So it's just been one of those like 48 hours of craziness. But I'm here. I'm ready. Kylan's here. He's ready. We are ready to break down some sports. We got a really fun episode today, hitting kind of all the major things that are going on right now. Make sure to give us a follow on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. We tweet out the links to the podcast. We tweet our insights as the games go on that we are generally watching. So let's get into it, right?
Let's go.
Let's start. So let's start with probably the biggest thing I don't want to necessarily say sports news right now, but definitely the biggest thing in the NBA right now. What are your thoughts on this, Kylan? I know you're a little bit more tuned in than I am.
This is a surprise, honestly. I did not think he'd end up in Indiana. All signs pointed to LA, maybe. Somewhere in the west on the west side of the country. Obviously, he's been playing in Toronto forever, but it seems like, for those of you that don't know, Pascal Siakam was traded 2 days ago to Indiana for 3 first-round picks and a bunch of bench players. Obviously the 3 first-round picks are very important because, as Indiana seems like they may be in a Toronto situation where this is a year rental. Although Adrian Wojnarowski is reporting that that there is mutual interest there between him and playing with Tyrese Halliburton. So they might end up getting an extension. He might end up in Philadelphia or somewhere else. It's the NBA, so everything is fluid. I tell people all the time, especially in these next few weeks with the trade deadline coming up. It's about to be a crazy few weeks in the NBA, which is about to make the NFL and the rest of these sports look like it's nothing when it comes to trade deadlines. So, the NBA, as we all know, has one of the most active and dramatic trade deadlines ever.
Yep, for
So,
sure. You see, and every year you seem to see like in football, the trades I feel like in football on the trade deadline, there's maybe like 1 or 2 big trades. A lot of it's like practice squad players or stuff. It's nothing normally huge. Like the biggest one that I can remember on the trade deadline was like Christian McCaffrey last year.
right. And
Kind of
Chase
nothing.
Young this year.
Chase, yeah, that's right. The Commanders guys this year, but
Right.
even then, like that's like 3 people. The NBA every year, it's like they blow these teams up sometimes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then I always think you hear from the wives of all the players, the wives, the girlfriends. And I don't remember who it was last year was telling the story about they found out they were moving on social media, that they do you remember this story? Gosh,
Drew
who was
Holiday. It was Drew
Yes.
Holiday's, right?
Yes. And that nobody understands that like the NBA is like none other when it comes to this trade deadline.
Yeah, because they don't tell you anything, especially when you're. Well, they might give you more of a heads up in February, but he got traded in the summer, so they wasn't giving him no heads up. They were like, "All right, bye." So there's kind of a little bit more warning in February because usually if you're a player getting traded, obviously in February, your name has been, as the baseball guys would say, on the stove. You've been all over these trade deadlines since about August or September. So like, you getting traded.
Yeah.
So like with him, I don't think it was a shock. I don't know if he has a girlfriend or is single, but like, I don't think it was a shock to him that he got traded.
Yeah.
I think it was just a matter of like,
Where it was going to be too.
where it was going to be. So for him, it's Indiana. And it's a good trade for Indiana. It's a win now trade, especially when you have a budding star like Tyrese Halliburton, who's basically a walking triple double. Another Iowa State guy tearing up his respective league. You know, I kind of look at it kind of like what I said about New York a couple weeks ago with the OG Anunoby move. Obviously, it's a win now move, but you
Yeah.
need more than just Pascal Siakam. Obviously, a duo of Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton can get you past a first round matchup, which will probably either be with the Knicks or the Nets or somebody like that. Because right now, I believe Indiana's like a 5 seed, so like it'll get you past the first round. But if you have to see the Sixers, if you have to see the Bucks, you have to see the Celtics in the second round. I don't necessarily know if that gets you past them. Although with the way the Bucks are looking right now, it might get you past them. But I just like at this point, I got to say that they are a pretender at the moment.
Yeah.
Now there are more corresponding moves that come with this, and they can get Pascal Siakam to extend, then I'll say, okay, yeah, Indiana's going to make some noise. Maybe not this year, but next year.
Yep.
But we'll see. If it turns out to be a rental like the Toronto situation, I hope the coach of the Pacers is like a Nick Nurse, because if you don't win a championship and you lose Pascal Siakam, despite the fact that you got 3 first-round picks, which I guess was the sweetener to that,
Yeah.
you will look like an idiot. So hopefully he extends, for Indiana's sake.
Yeah.
But it's a good move for them. A great move for them as a team that's been like on the outskirts a little bit. It's a good consistency move. It's a little bit
Yeah.
different than the Knicks. It's
I
a
agree with
good
you.
consistency move for them. All right,
So
so I go ahead.
so this is speaking of like people moving to places that they think that they maybe had an idea of. This was not on, I don't think, either of our radars for a possible landing spot for Bill Belichick. But
Not at
Bill's
all.
about to have his second interview with the Atlanta Falcons, I believe today. And what's really interesting about this, I find, is that this seems to be backwards of like everything that we were thinking that Bill would be looking for. And again, we don't know him personally. I do work with a few people that do know him pretty intimately and have shared where they think or what they thought he was looking for. And I don't see the Atlanta Falcons as being one of them. But I think the major thing about the Atlanta Falcons is that they're in a full rebuild. Like, they are not a good team. And I would have thought, which confuses me, because there was the rumors are going around that Bill and the Patriots kind of separated a little bit amicably. That makes sense, that like he wanted to leave and they thought it was time for someone new. If he wanted to leave because he felt like the Patriots were in a rebuild, they didn't have a quarterback, blah blah blah, what is there in Atlanta? You know what I mean? And maybe it's just a job. I don't know. Maybe it's he's being nice and taking the second interview. I don't know. But it's seemingly they don't have a quarterback. I mean, unless you consider Desmond Ritter
Well,
a
he's not
guy.
him. He's
He's
not
not
him.
him.
He's not him. They don't have
Um,
they don't have a guy on that roster.
yeah.
He's not him.
So that's my
Um,
confusion. Where do you stand with that?
I think for me, like, I think this is more of like this is one of them things when we talked about Atlanta, which admittedly on this show hasn't been much because there hasn't been much to talk about them. Besides, if you like a Matthew Berry fan, to hear him like get pissy about how much he hates Arthur Smith, which he doesn't have to worry about that now, and how he was killing the fantasy value of. A lot of you may be upset because he probably killed. Now, I didn't have either one of these players on my fantasy team. Might be why I finished in fourth place. But he didn't have a Bijan Robinson. I didn't have a Bijan Robinson or a Kyle Pitts or what's the London on my team. But I think that's more of what this is, right? In
Yeah.
Atlanta, you have everything but the quarterback. You have an offensive line that admittedly you can probably draft a better one. A winnable division in the NFC South. I mean, the Bucks, all respect to them, they kicked my Eagles out on Monday. But the Bucks made it with like an 8-9 record. So I mean, it doesn't take much to win the NFC South, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like this is like a revenge. To me, it seems like he's pulling a Brady.
Yeah.
Like, when
I'm
Brady
gonna go make another team great
Yeah,
and win a Super Bowl with.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah. when Brady went to the Bucks, I don't think many of us saw that. We were like, all right,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
besides Mike Evans, what's there for him? So like, I think for this is I got Bijan Robinson. I've got a Kyle Pitts. We know the one thing that Belichick does, two things that he does other than coordinate good defenses is he will definitely use the heck out of his running backs and tight ends. This is a man that made Rob Gronkowski and the man who we don't mention, Aaron Hernandez, a household name. So, like, it is not out of the realm of possibility that he saw, oh, look, Kyle Pitts hasn't been used great in 3 years,
Yeah.
or 2 years. Bijan Robinson is there. He's like an up and coming, maybe the best running back in the league. And obviously he's got London as a wide receiver. But yeah, I mean, outside of those three players, it really doesn't make sense. But if you're Bill Belichick, maybe the sell is my name. I can get an okay quarterback to come here, or we can draft one. And as long as he's not the GM, he should be all right. But I think Arthur Blank is just crazy enough to make him the GM, and that would toss all the goodwill out for me. Right now, as long as he's just the coach,
Yeah.
I think that's just talent wise, it seems like a good move.
Yeah.
Maybe Jim Harbaugh. Maybe the reason why he's not in LA, like we both thought, is maybe Harbaugh's going there, but we don't know. Like I said,
Or
whoever,
Vrabel. Vrabel has
yeah,
an interview with the Chargers, I think
yeah,
today or tomorrow.
so like I said, whoever didn't get either Belichick or Harbaugh, we get the other one. So and Vrabel's out there too as a good third option.
Can I ask
So
you a
like,
question, Kylan? Do you think
but
that this is the best crop of coaches that we've had in like the coaching carousel in a while?
I think so. I think for obviously with Belichick in it, this might be the first time in a while that you've had like Belichick, you've had a national champion, and Harbaugh looking. Yeah, it might be the best crop in a while because obviously those are the two best ones. You've
Yeah.
got Vrabel, which really wasn't a surprise. To anybody that was paying attention in Tennessee, of course, the GM was not going to fire himself. So he definitely fired the coach. And I definitely think right now it might be the best coaching that's been available since I guess Andy Reid was out there.
Yeah.
Maybe I think that was
Yeah.
like the last like really good coach that got fired.
Yeah.
So like this is a really good crop of coaches, and if you're looking for a coach, this might be the best time because of nothing else. You got Vrabel, who's definitely. I'll say this might be the best defensive. Like most of these
Yeah,
coaching
that's true.
carousels have been offensive coaches. This might be the best defensive coaching talent in a while.
I would agree with that. I think that this is it's a different kind of head coaching carousel, if you know what I mean. Like they're really tenured coaches. They're not like fresh new coaches, and so I think that that's kind of what surprises me a little bit about like Belichick even looking at Atlanta is that some of these coaches look like they're towards the end of their career. Not all of them, but like especially Belichick or Harbaugh coming in like he has something. He's not towards the end of his career, but he has something to prove, and I think he wants to prove it pretty quickly. That the Belichick would even consider going to a team that has and I don't want to say no talent because that's not fair, but like they don't have any guys, like you said, like they're not. You don't have anybody that you're like, oh, he's the man, like he's awesome. Like it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't look like it's a really young team. They don't really have any solid leaders, and I think that's what scares me about a team. Would scare me if I were Belichick about going to a team like that.
Well, I mean, like we said, it's either, that might be right now outside of the Chargers, the most talented situation you got, unless he wants to go to Seattle, which again, for Seattle, if you're looking at top three destinations, and I would love to get your thoughts on this. To me, the top three destinations, obviously you have LA, with you have Justin Herbert and really a bunch of aging guys yourself. I mean, if you want to put Austin Eckler there, he's aging too. But like you basically have Justin Herbert, and then you fill in around Herbert, right? That's probably
Yeah,
the top destination. And then you have, I would put, just out of off the strength of making the playoffs, put the Falcons ahead of the Seahawks because I mean I feel like the Seahawks and the Falcons are pretty close with the same thing. You've got receiving talent in Seattle, running back talent, and nothing else. And it's the same thing in Atlanta. You've got receivers and running back and nothing else. So like I think what he's looking at is maybe out of respect he doesn't want to take the Seattle job. Plus I don't know if he really likes the idea of dealing with the 49ers twice a year
Yep.
and the Rams. so so like I think for his situation this is I don't think he wants to take the job in Seattle. I think he wants a situation very similar to what he had in the AFC.
Where you can just beat
Which
up on
was
everybody, right?
yeah, yeah, which was yep. Like he wants something similar to that, where he could just like beat up on everybody, and that's the NFC South. That's the way it is. Like it's a bunch of bums on the. This is no offense to either of those teams, but it's a bunch of bum teams who beat up on each other. They scrap and make the playoffs. They might make noise, be there for a weekend, and then the next weekend they're out.
Yep. That's not a
Easy.
bad. Yeah, I never really thought about it like that, and that's kind of a good way to put it. Is that he's this, and again, this is going to sound like an insane take, but like Bill Belichick isn't really used to that much overcoming that much adversity. Like he has kind of been stuck in a bad division with bad teams for a lot of his career, and of course there's winning 16 games is or what was it? What are they 19-1? Is that 18-1?
Yeah,
17-1,
yeah,
whatever that year
18-1.
was. I can't keep, yeah, 18-1.
Yes. Yep.
Um, like that's no joke. Like you have to be a great coach and have a great team to do that. But you're playing the Jets twice a year. You're playing the Dolphins twice a year. You're playing who's the fourth
The
team in that?
Bills.
The Bills. And
The
for a
Bills.
while, the Bills weren't good. And now, yes, the Bills are. That's a different story. And now he's leaving. So that is an
Yeah.
interesting way to think about it.
Yeah. And then we kind of touched on this. Does the fit work? And can he win a chip in Atlanta? He can if everybody else in the NFC just falls off. Like if the
Yeah.
Eagles fall off, if the Cowboys fall off, if the Niners fall off, yeah, like he can win the championship. But right now, I don't know where you rank it, Morgan, but I definitely have them as probably like the fifth or sixth team if they add him in the NFC because obviously he's not. They're not in that top tier with the
They
Eagles
need
and the Niners.
if they
Right.
can draft or get a quarterback, I will significantly boost them, but they're not winning anything with Desmond Ritter.
Right.
They're just not. I think
Yeah.
he's a really nice guy, and when he's good, but he's never great, and he's not good all the time.
He's streaky. That's
Yeah,
what it is. He's streaky.
yeah.
That's a bad thing to be. All right, so wild card weekend. I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna
Woo!
let you handle. I'm gonna let you handle this. Like
So
we had, it was a
I
triple
had a
header. It was a
crazy
triple
week.
header for you.
Yep. So I worked both games on Saturday and the night game on Sunday. It was a wild weekend for sure. I was definitely exhausted on Monday, but it was great. We had some great first halves. And then we seemed to get some blowouts, some surprises. I I found the Mahomes game. I mean, that was insane how cold it was. Every time I step outside, it's been freezing in Connecticut. It's actually snowing right now again. But I step
Snowing
outside,
here.
it's like 20 degrees, and I'm like, it was like 40 degrees colder at that game.
It's snowing. It was snowing here too. We're all in that snowstorm. So
It's I think that was crazy. I think that the Dolphins just showed no heart. They made no adjustments.
okay.
But it wasn't easy for it didn't I mean it was easier than it has been, I guess, for the Chiefs, but it still doesn't look like it's super easy. So I think that the game this weekend against the Bills is going to be really interesting because
Now
but
let me ask.
The Bills
Let,
didn't make it look easy either though.
let me ask you a question on the Chiefs. Right now, I
Yeah.
was. I'll just in total candor and transparency here because that's the podcast.
Mhm.
Podcast between colleagues and friends. So this is the atmosphere that we've created. In total candor, There y'all go. There y'all go with the SAT word count for this podcast. Candor. In total candor and transparency. I was at a retreat. This a leadership retreat this week. This past weekend. I was near you, near your old hometown. I was in Maryland,
Oh,
Chesapeake
oh,
actually.
I love it
Uh,
there.
yeah. So I was in Chesapeake, Maryland. And
Carl,
so yes, I did not catch all of these games, but especially the ones on Saturday because we had a pretty action-packed Saturday. But um, the games that I did catch, it looked good. Now for the Chiefs, because you saw that more intimately, and this is my question.
yep.
This is what happens when you put two reporters in the in a podcast together. Like, do you think that that's because of the game plan for the Chiefs, or is that just like, he Mahomes doesn't trust like his receivers, obviously outside Travis Kelsey and Isaiah Pacheco? Like, do you think? Obviously, I did not watch that game in full, so I don't know if the 26-6 was they just put a whooping on them through the run game and Travis Kelsey, or was it just Isaiah Pacheco and nothing else? So,
I
like,
think I think Mahomes played better than he's played.
Mhm.
Not having Kadarius Toney in the game, I think, is a plus. You don't even have an option to throw it to him. There was some dropped balls. It should
Okay.
have been, oh gosh, like 26-0 at halftime or something. They should have scored a few more times before halftime. There was a lot of dropped balls. Kelsey dropped a ball. I want to say Pacheco dropped like a easy screen pass, I think. Again, I watched a lot of football. I worked a lot of football this weekend.
Yeah,
But
no.
the biggest thing I think was that the Dolphins just could not get it figured out. They couldn't.
Hmm.
They had the one play that they had was like a play to Tyreek Hill, one of those plays that they had. They just couldn't. They couldn't figure out the defense. I think they couldn't stay warm. I think they had done too much time pretending like it wasn't going to be cold. And I mean that honestly, where like you asked all of the players on the Dolphins before the game, they're like, I'm just mindset over matter. Like it's like, no, 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 no. When it's negative 20 degrees, it's not mindset over matter. It's like you have to be prepared for that. Like that's something that like you're coming from Miami. You're not used to playing in this weather. Um, they they couldn't once get it together. I think that was the biggest thing is that everything was choppy. They never got anything going. Their defense couldn't really do anything. They didn't have their run game going. Um, and on top of that, the Chiefs played better than they have played in the past. I think that there was a little bit of anger behind their playing. Um,
Mhm.
they were playing angry, and I think that they were playing not because they weren't underdogs or anything like that, but they were playing like they had been disrespected, I guess, which was the biggest thing. Um, and and again, I think there's a large part of it. I know that it sounds silly, but I think a large part of it was that they know how to play in that kind of weather and that they had been practicing in that kind of weather.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point with the Bills, like, right, both teams playing each other this weekend, and we'll get to our predictions and previews later. If I could add my 2 cents, because I saw the games on Monday, and obviously I saw what was left of, because we got back home around like 7:30 ish, so I
Oh
saw
wow.
like what was
Saw a
left of
little bit
the
of it. Yeah, yeah.
Packers and Cowboys on Sunday, but on the Saturday games, obviously with the Bills and Steelers were supposed to play on Saturday, but that game got pushed back to Monday, obviously, because for anyone who's lived, I mean, like I said, I spent a year and a half in Central New York. Did not live in Buffalo, but that snow was no joke up there,
No.
and the Chiefs are about to find out. But like the Bills didn't make it look easy. I saw this game obviously after the Sixers put the whooping on the Rockets, which we'll get to later as well. But yeah, like you said, the Bills, like we talked about off air, the Bills didn't make it look easy either. Like, again, this has been the knock on the Bills, and my dad's, him and a lot of Josh Allen fans are upset at me because I still won't apologize about what I said about basically burying him. But like,
Yeah.
he's a great quarterback, right? But I mean, he's asked to do too much. There's a such thing as doing too much, and there's a such thing as being Superman. And the
Yeah.
problem for the Bills is they ask him to be Superman a little too much for me.
Yep.
You know,
I
they
think that the biggest thing that I can say is my favorite quote is I don't know, maybe 4 weeks ago, Chris Sims on his podcast said, "There's no rule in the rule book that says that Josh Allen has to do everything by himself. There's not a rule that says that his teammates can't help him out."
right.
And I think that's literally, I mean, they do everything. He does everything for them. He runs 56-yard touchdowns. Like, that's insane. Your
Yeah.
quarterback should not be running a 56-yard touchdown.
Yeah, it's like I said, like, and I'm not wishing this on him, but like these next few games, especially with the Chiefs, possibly with the Ravens, they are one bad Josh Allen injury away from just getting destroyed.
Yep.
And it can happen. I'm not wishing that it happens because I do like Josh Allen, but like, you know, you get miles on your bike. It's the same thing that happened to, and we'll get to him in a minute too, Lamar Jackson, right?
I was
They
just
were
going to
asking
say
him to do way too much, and then he got injured, and then to his credit, Harbaugh figured it out. But I don't know if Sean McDermott can figure it out because, like, unlike Harbaugh, he doesn't have a Super Bowl to his name. Like, you know, like I just don't know. Like, and watching that game, I really do think if Pittsburgh could have just found a defensive scheme that shut down Knox and Kincaid, they probably would have won that game. Because, like, you know, again, the Bills were dropping like flies. Like, it was a home game for the Bills, and like Stephon Diggs went down. I believe they lost Micah Hyde again. Like, there was a lot going on in that game on Monday. And, you know, like, again, like, they're dropping like flies. And, like, you know, this is no knock on the Bills, but it's the truth. Like, if you're Bills Mafia, you are worried. Like, Diggs might be injured. Now, we don't know how serious that injury looked. It looked all right. You know, he looked all right throughout the rest of that game. But, you know, things pick up. And against the Kansas City, who's looking like, I don't think people realize how much of a rivalry the Chiefs and Bills have become over the last few years. But it's up there. It's not Cowboys and Eagles, but it's up there. Like, they do not like each other at all. Like, in the regular season, it was like, what was the fight counter? Like 20 fights during the game during the regular season. Like, they do not like each other. And you add snow in there, like they do not like each other. Like, you know, and I feel here's the thing, right? The Bills should win this game. I'll preview my prediction. I'm probably going to pick the Chiefs, but everything says the Bills should win this game. Kansas City has not looked good throughout these past few weeks besides this game last week. They don't have any good receivers. And, like, you know, it's spelling out, unless Mahomes is Superman, that the Bills should win this game. And even despite that, I'm having a tough time because I really do think the Chiefs are going to win this game, but I want it to be the Bills. But I just think that this sets up perfectly for the Chiefs to somehow still drag their zombie behinds to the Super Bowl. Like, it just sets up because I just have no faith in everybody not named Josh Allen on the Bills.
No, it's completely true. It's I mean, it drives me crazy because people like Stephon Diggs, like you said, they like whine and complain and cry about not getting the ball, and then they make one good play and they're like, see? And I'm like, dude, you made one good play. He ran for a 56-yard touchdown. Like, that's all I have to say. It makes me mad. But yeah, let's move on to the next game. That game's going to make me mad. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think that's probably going to be one of the best games of the weekend.
Do we want to not disrespect, because we're not going to talk about them till this weekend, and I do want to give Detroit their props. Congratulations, Lions.
Yes.
You did a good job. You eliminated the hottest team in football because, you know, Morgan, I don't know what you have to say about this game, but to me, again, this was another game where the superior team struggled. Like the Lions came out like gangbusters that first quarter, saying we're gonna beat your ass, yeah. And that's what they did. That for the first 2 quarters, that's exactly what they did. And then Sean McDermott, not Sean McDermott, wow, he adjusted. Who the coach of the Rams? Who am I thinking of?
Coach of the Rams, Sean
Yeah,
McVay.
Sean McVay. There you go. I said McDermott instead of McVay. But
It's like I
same
don't
thing.
know who you're thinking of.
Sean McVay, made them adjustments. Obviously, I think Matthew Stafford got injured the couple of times that they were sacking him. It seemed pretty apparent that something was wrong with him later on in that game. But they did it. The Rams did a good job. They should have won that game. But the bane of their existence came up again, which is the red zone. They just can never score. If it starts at the 20-yard line and they're able to find Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp deep, oh yeah, that's a touchdown. But as soon as they get to that 20 and 10-yard line, it's like it becomes like a fence and they can't score anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean, you give props to Puka. Obviously, like what a crazy rookie year! What an amazing draft. They're crazy good drafters there.
Right.
But
when they have the picks, right?
Yeah.
So
I completely agree with you. I'm happy for Lions fans. And NBC has that game again, so I'll be working that game.
I mean, if you want to Sunday or 2. If you want to preview that game, the Bucks have no chance.
Yeah,
I
think the only thing that the Bucks have going for them is momentum and kind of like the Browns. Like at some point they're going to turn back into a pumpkin.
Right. We didn't even talk about the Texans. Good. Congratulations to the Texans.
Yeah.
We'll get to y'all on Saturday because we have to. The lower thirds is talking about the Cowboys. So
we have to talk. This is, I think, great for both of us. I think we both loved this game. We both loved seeing this happen. This was so much fun to watch. The Cowboys are absolute frauds. I cannot believe that they're keeping Mike McCarthy. I just don't understand. I can't. I'm like shocked that they're keeping them, especially after Jerry Jones's comments right after the game, and he said it was the worst loss he's ever faced. All this stuff. I cannot believe that they are keeping him. I can't. I'm floored, as Jerry Jones would say.
I'm happy. I don't know about you, but I'm happy.
Well, that's also true. Yes, I am. Yes, I think that. They. I mean, I'm happy if as a Giants fan. I'd be furious if I was a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I am, and just so people know, we're gonna get to this in the two chyrons from now. But the reason why you see me crazily checking my phone and Morgan doing the same thing on her laptop is because as we speak, Nick Sirianni and Jeff Lurie are meeting, so we're checking to make sure that there isn't anything breaking as far as whether he'll keep his job or not. I fully expect him to keep his job, but we don't know. So, it is currently snowing in Philadelphia. So, we do not know if that meeting is actually going to happen today, but it is supposed to. So that is why if you see us crazily checking.
I know we're checking. We're trying to get you guys the most up-to-date news as possible.
Yeah.
Reaching out to our sources,
As far as this game goes, though, we both did pick the Cowboys, but I think I said, and I know you said, that I wouldn't be surprised if the Packers won. Now, I did not think. I was thinking in a close game, not a 42-7 beatdown. And
I have to say, the score looks closer than it was because towards the end of the game, the Packers did kind of take their breaks. They put their
foot on the brakes.
Thank you. Oh my God.
It's okay. I had one. I had one earlier with Sean. With Sean McVay.
Yeah. So. Okay. There you go. But I think sometimes these scores end up looking closer on these big blowouts because the teams that are ahead are like, all right, let's not continue to try and get anybody hurt or things like that.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, crazy.
But yeah, like I did not think, especially after you, me, and everybody else in sports media was all like, it's the Cowboys have been unbeatable at home. Let me do my best by for you. The Cowboys have been unbeatable at home. Of course they're going to win and destroy the Packers pretty handily because Jordan Love is his first game in the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah.
He's going to lose mightily,
Yeah.
and that's not what happened. Good flipping of the script, man, because I did not think the Packers would come in there and basically bully the Cowboys in their home stadium. If anybody was going to do that, I was thinking it was going to be the Eagles or the 49ers. But bravo to the Packers for packing up
Yes.
the Cowboys, as it says right there.
I know. Your little alliteration. I like it. I like it.
Jordan Love had a great game. Again, I was in transit coming back to Philly during most of this game, so I did not see the first half. But I heard Aaron Jones basically mollywop the Cowboys defense, and Jordan Love played to win that game and showed that he has foundational franchise QB skill set, especially for people like us who didn't really get to watch the Packers because we don't live in Wisconsin. So, I am very proud of Jordan Love. After all he went through sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, or cute Aaron, as some of y'all call him, sitting behind him for that long and now having the keys, and getting the keys. Shout out to DJ Khaled, and not looking like he's turning it back. He had the chance to fold, and he didn't fold.
Yeah.
And no one would have blamed him. It's a rabid thing. Like both of our teams have lost. It's no shame losing in Jerry World, right? Everybody's done it except for the 49ers. Everybody does it, and it would not have been a shame, but he played out of his mind and
He did.
made those plays that only so many quarterbacks can make. And I don't know about you, but I think despite whatever happens, on Saturday or Sunday against the Niners, I think he's definitely in my top 12. He might not be like 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1, but he's definitely 11 or 12. I don't think besides obviously Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Jackson, Herbert, because we can't be too disrespectful, Stafford. I don't think there's too many quarterbacks in the league better than him. And this man basically is a rookie this year.
Yep. It's crazy, and I am incredibly impressed with him. I he's doing what the Packers do. They get a quarterback, they let him sit under a few things, and then all of a sudden, poof.
Right. Like it's
turns
crazy.
into a butterfly, and
it's crazy. And
oh my goodness.
Hopefully that continues. Hopefully that
Yes.
continues for him. So, because we probably won't really get a chance to really go deep dive in this game. So are the Packers a contender or pretender? For me, they are a contender, but unfortunately for them, they got to play the 49ers on 2 weeks rest. So I fully expect them to get ninered up. But we'll see. Again, I said this last week, and I would not be surprised with the way the Niners looked and how they struggled against your Commanders. I would not be
You keep
shocked.
saying my Commanders. I don't take stock for them. I just am from there. Come on
Okay,
now.
your hometown team.
There you go.
the
Thank
Commanders.
you. Thank you.
Not your Commanders. The hometown team, Commanders. I wouldn't be surprised, but it would take a monumental effort to beat the 49ers on 2 weeks rest. But I would not be surprised if the Packers do it because Jordan Love does what he needs to do to win games. But to answer the question, pretenders right now, but contenders in the future.
Yeah, I don't think they have a shot against the 49ers, but I do think that this is a team to watch going forward.
Right. And as far as we talked about this, but where do the Cowboys go from here? Straight to Mike McCarthy, probably losing Dan Quinn, and needing a DC. If you're a Cowboys fan, man, you're on that downturn now, man. These last few years haven't been kind. Obviously, they've come up against the 49ers, so the 49ers have a lot to do with this. But this is one, as a Cowboys fan, you can't really justify because it wasn't the 49ers that packed you up. It was the Packers. So, like, I just think you're on this downturn now because, Dak had a great season, an MVP-like season. But when it mattered, he was throwing interceptions. They were triple teaming CeeDee Lamb, and he had nobody else. They're going to lose Stephon Gilmore now. It just doesn't. It doesn't look good. It looks like the Cowboys are going to go from a top 3 team in the NFC to, like, 6, 7, back in the middle of the pack to me. Especially now that they got Mike McCarthy back. What about you? What you think?
I don't think Sirianni is the right person for that kind of group of men. I think.
Well, we're still on the Cowboys.
Oh, it says booted Eagles. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry. I thought that's why I was like, okay, let me shift my brain. Okay, yeah, no. I agree with you. I don't understand how they're keeping Mike McCarthy. I said that before. If I were Jerry Jones, I would fire Mike McCarthy and bring in Bill Belichick. I don't know about Dak. Dak just seems to kind of crumble in big moments sometimes. He's amazing in the regular season. And it's frustrating because they seem to have all the players in place. That's what has to be frustrating to be an owner or a fan of the Cowboys, right? Is that they have Micah Parsons, they have CeeDee Lamb, they have all of these, like you've said, all of these pieces in place. So that's my worry, and that would be my concern, that it has to come from the top, and I think it has to be a Mike McCarthy change. But they're not going to do that, so I think we're going to see the same team, same thing that we've seen the last few years, that they're really good in the preseason or the regular season and somehow manage to fall and crumble and not be able to manage the clock because, as you say, Mike McCarthy has a doctorate in clock mismanagement.
Amen. He does. And it was so lopsided. They didn't have to worry about clock mismanagement.
Yep.
So yeah. Let's get to my Eagles. The Eagles of it all. They got booted. As we said, even last week, y'all heard me basically giving up the ghost. Even Morgan was like, "So are you basically giving up the ghost on your Eagles?" And I was like, as a reporter on the team, like, obviously we have to stay unbiased. But when that hat is not on, it's always Eagles 24/7 over here. So, they played like a team that gave up.
Yep.
And
it's like they came into the game already given up.
Right. Yeah, and it's unfortunate because Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith tried their best. It looks like Jason Kelce might be going out, but we don't really know because it seems like this is another Tom Brady situation where Adam Schefter jumped the gun, or somebody was like, "We think he might retire, but we don't know," and he just jumped the gun. I don't really know. I honestly think that Sirianni should be given one more chance. To me, just because I don't know. It seems like Bill Belichick is looking at the options he has. So maybe LA is set on Harbaugh, and then maybe he's waiting on the Eagles to maybe he knows that they'll get rid of Jeff Lurie. But as I said off air, those of you Eagles fans and people who are all like, look at all these things, y'all can fire him right now. Like I told Morgan, Jeffrey Lurie does not really like retreads. If you look at all the Eagles coaching hires, when he hired Andy Reid, he was an OC. He doesn't really like people that come in already set in their ways. And even though I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he would work really well with Howie Roseman, Jeff Lurie tends to give people chances, whether that be straight out, whether you think they deserve it or not. Straight out of college with Chip Kelly, plucking Nick Sirianni off the Colts' staff. He tends to like to give people chances that are young, and a lot of these coaches on currently available really don't fit that bill. Besides Ben Johnson, And obviously everybody's trying to talk to him right now. So I mean, Ben Johnson fits the bill for what Jeff Lurie will want if he does get rid of Nick Sirianni. Now I just think, as I told Morgan off air, and I'll tell y'all now, that you know they are going to give him all the chances they can to succeed. This is a little bit of the reverse of what happened with Doug Peterson, where like I told Morgan,
Do you think
Nick,
it's because of Doug Peterson that they're doing that? Because or
yeah, I think they're giving Sirianni all the chances that they gave Doug Peterson, which was, we don't want to fire you unless you give us a reason. Here's what we want. We want you to fire. Obviously, they're going to fire the DC. They'll have to, as I've said multiple occasions on this podcast, and people are always upset when I tell them this in person, but they're going to need Jalen Hurts' permission before they're able to fire Brian Johnson, just because Brian Johnson, as I've noted throughout this podcast and even before, Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts have been together since high school. That is his coach. That is his guy. That is the guy that helped develop him last year. This is why he's getting all these jobs, because people, like I said last week, know that it's not him. It's Nick Sirianni. So despite all this, I think that Nick Sirianni's job prospects hinges on the fact if Jeff Lurie believes that all of this was just leadership and bad person. All of this was just bad decision making on him for OCs and DCs, and not that it's all Nick Sirianni and whether he's a good leader or not. Because if it's a leadership and coaching issue, like most of us think it is, then Nick Sirianni shouldn't come back. But if it's because Jeffrey Lurie has his hand on the pulse, like if it is personnel and just Howie Roseman missing on some snakes in the locker room, then he'll have a job, and they'll find probably some more foundational OC and DC, and maybe that'll work out. Like I said, I think somebody who's very live for this job, if he wants it, is your boy Ron Rivera, because he did cut his teeth with the Eagles.
Yeah.
I definitely think you guys should watch out for Denard Wilson as well, who's currently the Ravens DC. The Eagles have admitted now that they made a mistake letting that man go, as they've just watched him make Ronald Darby look like he's a Pro Bowler again. So I just feel like that's what you can look for the Eagles, that they're going to try and probably re-sign DeAndre Swift, retool, and get a new OC and a DC in here. Probably not a new OC if Brian Johnson doesn't get hired. I think it's better for Brian Johnson if he gets hired as a coach, because then they don't have to fire him and do not have to have that hard conversation or make Jalen Hurts choose. So
I have one question for you before we end this conversation. How much of an impact do you think that losing like Shane Steichen and I don't remember who the other coordinator was affected this team this year? Regardless, maybe it can be leadership, maybe it can be play schemes, whatever that may be.
Honestly, I think that the offense honestly got better as it went on. I think it's hard, especially when you lose an OC and DC basically after you lose a Super Bowl, to come together. I think a lot of that, as we talked about last week, was exhaustion. I do, and this, don't get me wrong, I do think Steichen is a very good, obviously, OC. I mean, he was out here making what's his name in Indiana look good again. So I mean, he's totally not a joke.
Yeah.
But I just think a lot of that was, injuries on the offensive side for the Eagles.
Okay.
A lot of miscommunications. But I do think Steichen specifically was a great OC, and I think that he was able to account for Nick Sirianni's inefficiencies. So I do think he was a good OC in that regard. But I think, like, if you look at the numbers, the Eagles' offense was a little bit better in points and rushing yards and touchdowns this year than they were last year. Yeah. It's just that they didn't have that efficiency on third downs. So maybe that's where they were missing Steichen, because he knew what to call, not QB runs on 2 straight plays of 3rd and 1 or whatever. But again, maybe what happened with Brian Johnson, just because of his knowledge of Jalen Hurts, he pulled the Josh Allen and expected him to be Superman and forgot to like scheme people open and help him out.
Yeah.
But I feel like Jalen Hurts was a victim of his success last year, where they were expecting him to be Superman and account for things that happen when when you got a new OC and new things, like expecting you to be Superman when stuff doesn't work, and sometimes
Yes.
that doesn't work when they have tape on you now.
Yep. I agree. All right.
Yep.
Let's move on to our picks for this weekend, the 4 games that we think are going to happen. I think we've kind of talked through them a little bit, but we'll start with the early game on Saturday. What are you thinking?
And the early game is that Texans Ravens?
I believe so. I'm actually pulling it up. Yes, it is.
All right,
Tomorrow
so
at 4:30 on. I don't know what this is on.
probably Fox or CBS.
ABC.
Um, ABC. All right, so Ravens. I love CJ Stroud. I love the story. Obviously, the 49ers are missing their DC right now, who's in Houston. So shout out to him and everything that they're doing in Houston. But I just think the Ravens are a juggernaut. And again, it's kind of like what's going to happen to Jordan Love against the 49ers. Like, when you come up against a juggernaut, sometimes everything has to go right for you. And
Yeah.
and unfortunately for the Texans, they're facing the best defense in the league, and with 2 weeks to prepare for you. So the Ravens all the way. Lamar Jackson has a 3 touchdown, maybe 4 touchdown performance, 3 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown, and the Ravens rout the Texans to me 40-20.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we have difference. I actually think the Texans are going to pull this one out.
Okay.
I'm really hoping for CJ. I think he's played such an amazing season. It's such a good story, and I always like to root for a good story. So I'm going to say Texans, but I'm going to say that it's a closer game. I'm going to say 24-28.
Okay. All right. Next game.
Next game is the 8:15 game is the Packers 49ers. I think we're probably both going to pick the same person for this. I'm taking the 49ers. I'm taking the 49ers like 48-20. I think that may have been your score for the first game, but I am taking them with a huge win on that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna lessen your score a little bit. I'm gonna go 38-28.
Okay.
I think that obviously the Niners should win this game, and as long as they struggled against your hometown team, the Commanders. So
Yeah.
but I 38-28, 38-28, because I feel like the Niners defense is gonna struggle with Jordan Love, but I think that they'll pull it out.
I agree. All right. Divisional round day 2. Our and my NBC game, Bucks Lions. I think that we kind of talked about this earlier. The Lions are winning this. Again, I think that the Bucks are going to turn back into a pumpkin this game. I'm so sorry for my friend. I have a friend on the team. I love Baker Mayfield, but I just don't see it happening for them.
Yeah, Lions all the way. The Michigan versus everybody energy stays alive.
Yep.
For one more weekend. Detroit destroys the Bucks. I'm gonna say 42-13.
Ooh, good. Cool. And then the last game, by far, I think is expected to be the best game, 6:30 p.m. on Sunday. Chiefs at Bills. Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game. I think this is going to be a really, really close one. I am really, really, really struggling with this game.
Me
I go
too.
back and forth, but I think I'm going to take the Bills. I think I'm going to take the Bills purely because I think they're even, and then I'm going to give the Bills that home field advantage.
Yeah.
Bills Mafia is something else, and I think that not that it's really going to affect the Chiefs that much, but I don't think it's going to negatively affect the Chiefs, but I think that energy can positively affect Josh Allen and the boys out there. I'm going to say it's supposed to be freezing cold again. It's supposed to be snowing, so I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. I'm going to say 38. I guess 38 is not a low scoring game. 38. 38-33.
Okay. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with a close game. I think this is another playoff game for the Chiefs and Bills that goes into overtime, and I'm going to say might go into multiple overtimes. I'm going to say 24-21 Chiefs because I believe in Josh Allen, but I don't believe in the cast around him besides the tight ends. So I'm gonna say that Mahomes and Kelsey connect on an OT touchdown, 24, what did I say? 24-17 and multiple overtimes to the Chiefs.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, and that wraps up our NFL previews and picks for today. But we're going to have a quick little discussion very fast on my girl, my queen, my mother, Taylor Swift. The stupid boys are saying that she's hurting football. I don't understand that. If you don't like her, then just don't listen to her. Like, I feel like, yes, at the very beginning, the networks were kind of going a little bit crazy. I feel like now it's pretty easy to ignore. It's no different than them showing Aiden Hutchinson's family every time he has a huge sack. It's no different than them showing Kelly Stafford and her children whenever Stafford does something good. So um, I think everybody that hates her, that is hating on it, it just needs to they just need to calm down. See what I did there? See what I did there?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
I go ahead.
I mean, she's not doing anything bad for football. I think she's just gaining a bigger audience and getting more females into football, which I'm sure some males will think is a bad thing. I happen to think it's a good thing. Um, yeah, I think any boy that's complaining about it before the Chiefs started playing or before they were dating, did your girlfriends ever want to watch sports with you? What now they want to watch NFL with you? You should be happy you're spending more time with your significant other.
Yeah, I'm admittedly not as big. I mean, I do like Taylor Swift, but I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie. Like I did not go to any of her multiple shows here in Philly. Um and I did go to college not far from where she was born in Wyoming, Reading, PA, which is is a suburb. Well, Wyoming is a suburb of Reading. So I my opinion on her is I don't know why they're creating so much bad blood. What's up, Swifties? With with this, like Tony Dungy, Fox News. So many people are just like, she's ruining football. We've got these women now, blah blah blah. Or
It
there's too
makes
much
you
shots.
sound sexist. Like it makes
Yeah,
people sound sexist when they say that. It
sexist and old. Like
Yeah, like
I'm
you're
just like,
mad that more girls are watching sports. Like, sorry, sports is a manly thing. Like,
yeah.
f off, f off. Like,
I think many,
God.
there was some reporter, or at least one that I followed, who was given a story and talking about how his 9-year old, or I think 8-year old at the time, maybe 9 now, daughter now wants to watch football. She never cared about football before. Then Taylor Swift started appearing. So for
Yeah,
the NFL is very happy, obviously, but some of the people associated, well, Fox News isn't really associated with it. It's more Fox Sports. But Fox News made a comment about, for those of you that have not been paying attention last week, or it might have been this week, they were asking somebody, is Taylor Swift's love of football, like, it's Fox News, a psyop from the CIA? And I'm all like, what would the CIA want? It doesn't make sense.
oh my
But it's like,
God.
what
Oh
would
my
the
God.
what would
I
the
hate
CIA?
people.
Why would they put Taylor Swift and Travis Kelsey together? Like, what are they distracting us from?
I
So, like,
hate people. Oh
it's
my
one
God.
of
That
those.
makes me so mad.
It's one of those things. So, like, for me, as I told Morgan, like, for those of you that don't know, obviously football, we looked at if you looked at the participation rates, football is slowly doing this to the younger generation. And I don't mean Morgan and I mean the ones way under us that are like 0 to 12, 0 to 15 right now. Like, they're not playing football, they're playing basketball, they're playing soccer. Like, basketball is already on
Cross.
rise, but it's rising even more. They're playing lacrosse. In the Northeast, lacrosse is way more popular than it was. They're
Yep.
playing lacrosse. They're playing hockey. They're playing. Heck, they're even doing golf now, which is crazy because how expensive golf
I
is.
all I
Like,
know is my kids will be playing golf.
yeah,
That'll
yeah,
be
like,
I'll be sitting at somehow sitting and watching a golf match at I don't even know how that works.
yeah,
That
yeah,
sounds like it's a Dan problem, and Dan will take them to that. I'll
right.
take them to their dance classes.
Yeah, so like they're doing everything else. So you should be happy now that you got Taylor Swift, who appeals to everybody from basically 1 years old to 99, and like and she's dating Travis Kelce, maybe one of the biggest stars in the NFL.
Yep.
So like it's branding, right? And it's going to
Yep.
get more women in there. It's going to make your audience younger. Like I don't know if y'all know this, but the baseball audience and the football audience is basically the same age, besides people like us who are in their 20s and 30s that watch it just out of pure habit because of we like a football team, we cover it for work, we got to watch it. So like, if you're not like us and you're just a casual football watcher outside of maybe your favorite team, who cares that Taylor Swift is dating Jason Kelce? Like, if anything is great for the NFL,
Travis.
Sorry, not Jason. Travis Kelce, my bad. It's good for the NFL. It's giving them way more money. I'm very much surprised. Obviously, I love Usher, but I'm very much surprised that they did not find a way to put Taylor Swift on that program.
Are you kidding me? They definitely offered it to her. She definitely turned it down. She has she can't do it. She has concerts overseas.
Okay. So like yeah. So like
so maybe she'll do it in a few years and it'll be the greatest show on turf.
Yeah, so like it's great. It's great for the product, but we need to move on.
Yes, we do.
To the NBA. So last week we were talking about the slumping Sixers, and I told you Sixers fans and you Sixers casuals to wait on it because Joel Embiid was coming back and he made his triumphant return on Monday. And you saw it, right? The threes started falling. The 10 assist game on Tuesday against Nikola Jokic. Like it's another game where Joel Embiid's impact is being felt. If you were watching that game, specifically the Jokic game, you saw 41 points, 7 rebounds, 10 assists. Like I said for Joel Embiid, if the Sixers want to go where they want to go on a deep postseason run, the passing has to go up and the shooting, and he has to trust his teammates, and he's doing that. And that game against Jokic was a good example. And honestly, I want that. And I'm not just saying this as a Sixers reporter. And when that hat's not on, a biased Sixers fan. But I would love, 6 to 7 games of Jokic versus Embiid, Denver, Philadelphia. Like, who wouldn't want to see that? Like, two of the best players, not just best big men, but best players in the league and in the world going at it. Like the last 2 reigning MVPs, the defending champs, like it writes itself. It needs to happen. Obviously, there are a bunch of teams that have something to say about that, but it needs to happen. And as far as the NBA update, we talked about it with Pascal Siakam. But another thing is, bro, did you see on Wednesday night, or sis? Did you see on Wednesday night the shellacking that the Cavs gave the Bucks?
I didn't watch, but I did see and I did hear about it.
The Cavs whipped the Bucks. Like it is like it was like Swiss cheese out there. Now, in the Bucks' defense, Giannis did not play. It was the Damian Lillard show. And the Cavaliers just decided to make a statement at the Bucks' expense. Yeah. And as I've said on multiple shows, I've said the Bucks will probably end up being a 3 seed because they are a Sixers winning streak away from being down in the 3 seed. So I just think that obviously it's the Celtics, Bucks, and Sixers. That's the top 3 in the East, and maybe top 3 in all of the NBA with Denver as a close 4th. But the Bucks have some explaining to do. They have to figure it out very, very soon. Otherwise, they will definitely end up either in the 3 or the 4 spot. And they need to figure that out because, like I said, they are missing the defense of Drew Holiday. You can't really replace that. And as we talked about over the summer during our broadcast, as we talked about on this podcast, Damian Lillard does not play defense. Nope. I won't be disrespectful.
He's allergic to it.
That he's allergic to it, but I did say that over the summer. But he does not play defense, and that is a prime way that you could have the Bucks. And Donovan Mitchell had his fill of roasted Bucks on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
So yeah, so let's get to what you called for last week. The Caitlin Clark and men's and women's college basketball reacts. So Caitlin Clark had a triple double
Yes.
last week, and she's just very very good at basketball. So much so that
Yeah, she
that
is.
we talked about this off air. I like Caitlin Clark, but Paige Beckers is also back, and she had a 32, 9 assists, 8 rebound performance, and UConn's women's basketball social media team basically had to like tag all the main
They
sports
were like, "Hey
sports
guys, like
like yeah, Paige is back, but unfortunately for her, Caitlin Clark, like I said before a couple of weeks ago, it's taking her shy. Like that spot was supposed to be meant for Paige Beckers, and Caitlin Clark said, "Oh, she's injured. I'll take it." So like I like again, the WNBA is going to be very happy because they'll get Caitlin Clark this year, and then they will have, and then next year they'll have Paige. So it's very good if you're a WNBA fan. But yeah, Caitlin Clark is good at basketball. As far as the men's and women's side, Purdue is looking very beatable. They just lost. Did not expect that to happen, but to Penn State of all people. And obviously Penn State they have another one of your hometown colleges, VCU's coach now, so they run the press. So yeah, that was a surprise to me. But I mean, there's no real Goliath in men's college basketball, whereas in women,
UConn,
obviously
UConn."
UConn is now the number one seed. But I know that there are some people because they have to come into Philadelphia and face Villanova. There's some people that think that might be they need to be on upset alert. I like Villanova, and I am a Villanova fan, but I am not one of those people. I think UConn is the defending champ for a reason, and they should beat Villanova. And if they don't beat Villanova, I'll have some explaining to do because I'm on record saying that Villanova is going to lose on tomorrow in Philadelphia. So I might not be able to come home tomorrow night. But I still like Nova, but I just think that they're still figuring it out, and UConn should beat them.
I think I mean obviously UConn has been so much fun to watch this season. I am living in a UConn filled household of diehard UConn fans, and um, it has been really fun. The team is really great. They managed to replace all the NBA draft picks that they lost last year, and we're having fun. I mean, Cam Spencer's shot is unbelievable. Now that we have Klingon back, I don't know. It's going to be a fun rest of the season. I'm not jinxing anything, but they definitely are trying for that two-peat that has not been done since, what was it, the 2009
Yeah,
Gators?
yep, 2009.
Um,
Yeah, that was a
so
that was a three-peat, but yeah.
yeah, so that's what the goal is there for them, and I think anything less will be disappointing for
And shout
them.
out, and shout out. I have to say this
I
because
know.
sorry. Shouts out to my Syracuse. I was about to say Syracuse Huskies. Syracuse Orange. The men's and women's team. This is the
Yeah,
second time you've done that to me. The Syracuse men's team. Obviously, they just won their game, and the women had a comeback yesterday.
yeah, I
Daisha
saw that.
Daisha Fair. This is another. That's a name, a future WNBA talent that y'all should get to Central New York. Start paying attention because this is at least since I graduated from there, the first time in a while since both Syracuse men's teams and the women's teams are good together.
Yes,
Obviously, like since Tiana Mangakahia left, and they've had some very good teams the last couple of years, but now like both at the same time they're both doing really really well. So
yes,
shouts out to my Syracuse Orange, and I'm very impressed with them. Obviously, the Syracuse has to face Miami tomorrow night. The men's team. I believe the women didn't play on Sunday. Could be wrong about that, but I do think the women play on Sunday. So I am very impressed with both of my alma mater's teams, and I hope that they continue to do well.
alrighty. Are we ready for
Yes.
our favorite segment? All right, I will
So
go
you want to go
first.
first?
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's not him to somebody that I work with, and I'm not gonna say the actual name, but for people we kind of already talked about it, disrespecting Taylor Swift and saying that I just think it really makes you, like I said earlier, it makes you look sexist. It makes you look like you don't want to grow the sport, and I think that's stupid. They are not them. This just came out that I don't know if you saw this as I'm refreshing my Twitter feed trying to find any news about Nick Sirianni. Sports Illustrated's entire staff was notified on Friday that their jobs are being eliminated. So pretty much Sports Illustrated will not exist anymore. I don't know
Oh
if it
wow.
will just not exist in print form or if it is going to exist online. There hasn't been a ton of details, but they're not them because Sports Illustrated is a staple of the sports world.
They are like, that's shocking to me.
I know, I know,
I
crazy.
heard that I heard that the Arena Group, who, for those of you that don't know, that owns Sports Illustrated, was saying that they were eliminating jobs, but Sports Illustrated
The
was
en-
safe.
the
And I
entire
feel
yeah, the entire staff was notified.
dang, I feel so sorry for Sports Illustrated because I remember, probably like Morgan does, subscribing to it, loving that. It's the
They had
reason
like a
why.
Sports Illustrated Kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's one of the reasons why I wanted to become a sports broadcaster. I love the writer and reporter. Like,
yeah,
I love that. I
I
love
know.
that, and
It's really
it's a
sad.
shame that it's a shame, but this is what happens. We see it more and more in our industry,
Yeah,
where these financial Wall Street firms buy these legendary and legacy media companies, and obviously profit looks a lot different in our industry than
yeah,
it does in everywhere else that they're used to. So they'll cut the cord. Obviously, I don't know if you remember, but earlier, a month or two ago, it turned out that the Arena Group was, paying people AI Sports Illustrated writers
yeah,
to sound like, you know, black people, white people, Asian people, like, and there were a bunch of AI writers writing these articles. Sports
yep,
Illustrated was in hot water because of that, and that's crazy to me. But mine, my they aren't them, unfortunately, to my Philadelphia Eagles because
ooh, yeah. I think that's a good
y'all
one.
y'all have some work to do.
Yeah,
I was not like I said last week. They could win by 40, they could lose by 40. Either one of those was very much possible, right?
yep,
And that is what happened. They look like they given up. Julio Jones, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts were the only three people that showed some soul
yep.
last on Monday, and it's a shame that Jason Kelsey may go out like that.
I know.
Go out sad like that,
Oh,
misrepresenting
he looked
the
so
city,
sad.
the city that I live in, the city that I born and raised, that we represent, the team that's supposed to represent Philadelphia, and they claim it way more than the other three teams, right? But I mean, like I said, the Sixers are the vibes team and this team that represents the city here. The Eagles have some work to do. You gotta get younger. Um, Secondary needs to be figured out. If no other coordinator job is on the line, I like Sean Desai, but maybe he can stay around. But Matt Patricia got to go. I am not satisfied and not happy with what happened. Again,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna have a she's not her because Kim Mulkey hasn't done anything to
Kim
make
Mulkey
these.
has been fine. She's been off the.
She must have seen that I've been down her neck. So I will leave that one alone.
Yes.
But by he's not him. Arthur Smith, come on down, bro. I've been letting you slide, but man, come on. Again, how can you have Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, London, and many, many other great offensive talent and do that, bro? And then you're yelling at reporters. You're all like, I don't know, maybe you could do that job. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's hard. I mean, all you got to do is hand the ball off to Bijan.
Yeah.
Throw the ball, find some way to get Kyle Pitts involved in the offense.
Yep.
Throw it deep to London. Like
That's,
how I'm pretty sure somebody who plays Madden could have coordinated a better offense and defense than y'all. Like, pick one of those Madden esports players that y'all probably have on y'all roster now, because
yep.
esports is a huge thing now. And Arthur Smith, you lost your job. Some people want you here in Philadelphia. I do not. I
You're
do
like,
not want.
please no, please no.
I am not one of those people that wants a retread who couldn't do it, who couldn't do well with all that talent. Obviously, minus the quarterback.
Yeah.
If Nick Sirianni does get fired, I would rather have Ben Johnson in here. I'd rather have somebody who I know can call an offense. I don't think Nick Sirianni will get fired. But as far as Arthur Smith, yeah, stay far away from Philadelphia. You can go to Washington, you can go to Dallas, but stay far away. You can even go to New York. Stay far away
Please don't.
from
Please don't.
Philadelphia.
All right. Well, that wraps up our 9th episode of the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. Join us next week for a very special 10th episode. Woo! We hit double digits. We'll talk all things that have been going on. We'll talk some of the stuff that I'm sure there'll be some trades in the NBA. There'll be some coaching switches. Maybe we'll get some answers to where some of these coaches are going. And of course, we will have the divisional championships locked in. So until then.
And we'll know the all-star team in the NBA.
That's true. Until then, guys.